Live from the 4 Aces Studios, 4 Aces Presents brings to you West Coast Bias.
The following 4 Aces production is for mature audiences only. Listener discretion is highly advised.
All right, guys, it is time again for Mr. Suave to take you on that ride. Here's Mr. Suave's take.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, this is Dirk Suave from West Coast Bias. I'm finally back. Just a little ditty, little segment for the homies, O'Malley and Edmund, Nitty Dual, Coach. So, I was supposed to talk about the NBA, but this Kaepernick winning and Eric Reed winning against the NFL topic is pretty hot right now. Let me just say, the NFL settled. They knew that there were some dirty dealings. They knew that they didn't want some information to get out to the public, which would have happened during the trial. Typically, even if there's some type of gag order or whatnot, it's obvious they did something wrong, which is why they settled to cash out Kaepernick and Reed. Some reports say, it was worth 60 to 80 million. I guess he's been out the league 3 seasons now, or going on 3 seasons. Depending on what you believe, it could have been roughly whatever the average salary was for quarterbacks for every year he was out, plus some monetary damages. Reed probably got about half of that, and it was deserved. It was obviously proven that the case could go forward, and it was also obviously proven that there was some wrongdoing afoot, seeming how the NFL would never settle out of court just over a little bit of bad press. Not for the tune of upwards to combined $100 million. It's just not going to happen. Some reports say that it was, $2 or $3 million a piece per organization that coughed up the money. Which would make the sting a little bit less for the NFL as a whole, because let's be honest, outside of just a handful of teams, the ownership groups have billions of dollars at their disposal. So coughing up 2, 3, 4, maybe even $5 million a piece was nothing. So now let's jump on a little bit of basketball. We're getting ready for the All-Star game. It's down in Charlotte. All the big wigs are there. All the best players in the game. And, NBA's season has been fairly interesting. Lakers didn't start off so good, got hot. Then LeBron got hurt, was out, I believe, 17 games or so with the groin issue. And they promptly fell right into the toilet. Luke Walton wasn't able to keep the ship steady, per se. And there's talk that LeBron wants him out as head coach. And we always run into the issue with LeBron teams where if he doesn't believe in the head coach, the team, even without LeBron, just doesn't respond to the coach. And I think Walton is a good coach. I think he was the perfect coach for the Lakers. I didn't want to see him leave Golden State because at the time, our coach, Steve Kerr, was dealing with that back issue, and you just weren't sure if he was going to be able to actually be able to coach again, or had the desire to keep coaching through the pain. But that, luckily for us, that all got sorted out. Walton finds his way into LA. I think he's the perfect coach for that team. You have to build a system around LeBron. You can't just look, especially at LeBron's age, you can't just let him ISO and try and take over a game multiple quarters. You've got to have a good offensive game plan for that team. You know, they are young, but they are capable. This is probably all around the most talented team that LeBron has ever played on. And, you know, you're talking about his Heat teams with Wade and Bosh, and you're talking about his Cavs team with Irving and Love. But I think this team is more talented than those teams, especially in terms of the potential for the full depth of the roster. You know, they found some gems like Zubac. They've been able to hold on to Ingram. And I'll tell you now, Lakers better be damn lucky that the Pelicans basically got into trade talks in bad faith and didn't trade them Anthony Davis for the entire team plus draft picks. I know LeBron is in a win now mentality because of his age, and I'm sure he's definitely feeling it with this last injury he had, which is probably his longest injury of his career at only 17 games. Trading for Anthony Davis would have been a mistake. A huge blunder. And I think it's tragic that Dell Demps lost his job with the Pelicans. Now, I thought he should have made that deal for his team, but the Lakers would have been terrible in the short term having made that trade. Yes, you would have gotten AD, and yes, he would have been with LeBron James, but let's, not mince words about it. Those guys weren't going to both score 60 points a pop, every game. It just wasn't going to happen. They're good. They're great. They're not that good. You have to have pieces around them. You have to have role players who accept roles. By them giving up the entire core, plus future draft picks that the Lakers would have needed to try and build something towards the future. I think the Lakers are trying to sell out for Anthony Davis. Now, granted, there was probably a plan in place, and yes, they would have had some cap room if a good free agent, a top-tier free agent like a Kawhi Leonard became available and didn't re-sign in Toronto. But, you can't bank on those things. So for them to cash out the entire team to New Orleans for Anthony Davis, I think was a huge mistake. And now we'll see if the Pelicans have made a huge mistake in firing Dell Demps, if they do in fact get Tatum for Anthony Davis, which was from what I've been reading and seeing around the internet, is really why he kind of held back on the mega deal from the Lakers. There's another potential mega deal from the Celtics, who still have a plethora of draft picks for this year, plus Tatum for Anthony Davis. Especially seeming how we're not sure what's going to happen with Kyrie, if he's going to try and bolt to the Knicks. I don't really see that happening. I think Knicks fans have now become Laker fans in the sense that, they're praying that the star comes, but he just might not come. They're a dumpster fire. They just got finished trading away their best player. They got a decent player in return, but the Knicks are garbage. They're hot garbage. And for their fans to dream that they're going to now get Kyrie and KD and, Zion Williamson, I just don't understand where the fantasy started from. I'm not sure how it's been able to continue, but they need to go ahead and just kill that, taper it down a little bit, and just try and build back up through the draft and build the team around Zion and let him have the team and basically become, Giannis 2.0, But back to this All-Star festivities, not really excited for the slam dunk contest. Kind of more excited for the three-point contest with Curry in it, especially in his hometown. I'd be real interested to see if he can actually win it. It's been a minute since he won it. I know Clay beat him out that one season, and he's also won it once. So that's going to be pretty good. The skills competition, I could take it or leave it. It's not really going to gain my attention. It's not really exciting. The game itself, It's an offensive score fest, zero to little defense. So the game itself is probably gonna be pretty boring. I do like the fact that they're doing this draft thing now, which is kind of cool, but it's just not enough for me to maintain my interest like I used to when I was younger. When you used to see Barkley and Malone and Jordan and Magic and all the top players going at it. There was a different feeling because they actually, it was an offensive score fest, but at the same time, those teams had that schoolyard mentality where they could actually be cohesive fairly quickly and actually formulate a game plan and play halfway average defense as well. But yeah, we'll see what happens in this 3-point contest. It's been a while. I've missed my co-hosts, and this has been Dirk Schwab's moment.
All right. Hey, y'all. What's up? What's up? That was a blast from the past. An old friend coming in and chiming in on some of the stuff we're going to be talking with today. That was Mr. Schwab's take with Mr. Schwab, Dirk Schwab there, joining us from way back in the day. But today, live here, we got Miss O'Malley and Mr. Doual here with us. What's up, y'all?
What's up? So, how you doing?
All right, I'm doing good. Y'all ready? So let's kick this off like this. The hottest topic in sports right now is this man with this afro, this man that likes to kneel, this man that just got paid more money than he probably would.
Man with this afro, can you narrow it down?
But this man that just got paid more than he probably would have made as a backup quarterback over the past 3 years. Between record says what we know of it says $60 to $80 million. One Mr. Colin Kaepernick. There's definitely been multiple visceral reactions to this to the announcement of the settlement. And it's funny to me because so many people that I've seen support Colin Kaepernick in the past have turned into like these people that feel like he betrayed them somehow by settling. And I'm like, I don't under
$60 to $80 million out of the NFL, which almost never happens.
I saw people chewing him out, talking about, "Oh, dude, that's hush money, and we should know everything." And no, you shouldn't.
The fact that they paid him should say enough. Mm-hmm. Now, this is how I feel on it: is that it's not necessarily an admission of guilt, but what it is that the moment that went into trial, the deposition, the discovery, all of that becomes public knowledge. There's shit in that they do not want people to know, and that's why they settled. Mm-hmm. I mean, plus, I'm sure with some guilt in there somewhere. You can't, with the condition of the NFL in the last couple of years, tell me that there wasn't something going on there. I just don't believe it. Amen. But the biggest thing is that they settled when they did because they didn't, for as much money as they did, because they didn't want all of that stuff becoming public record, which it would have had it even began trial.
Yeah, and I'll say it like this, or should I say one of my favorite ways to say it would be this. It's better for the people to think something went down than for the people to know something went down. And that's effectively how the NFL is looking at it. It's better to allow people to conspiracy theorize whether or not we colluded to keep this man out the league than to know and actually see transcripts and emails and proof that we did collude to keep him out the thing. You know what I'm saying? Because at this point, even with the hush money, we can say that, yeah, that's what it looks like. That's what the optics are. But we don't have the transcripts. We don't have the emails. We don't have the evidence that would have came out if it had went to trial. And that's good as far as the NFL is concerned. You see what I'm saying? As long as it has to be hypothesized, that's good.
Yeah. Just like if your bad behavior isn't caught on video, you're less likely to get dinged for it. And,
pretty much, yeah.
Your business is all across TMZ. We can't deny that now. You know? I mean, it's plausible deniability. Mm-hmm. You know, they can't. People, exactly what you said. People can speculate all they want, But now both sides are bound by,
The confidentiality agreement.
Yep, exactly. And so, I mean, everybody can think what they want, but for an entity that has the reputation that the NFL does, especially in court, the fact that they settled, and they settled for supposedly as much as they did, although that is split up between 32 teams.
Yeah.
They said that we may never know. However, depending on how that money gets taken from the teams, we may know.
Yeah.
Because Green Bay has to put all their books out there every year because Green Bay is a collectively owned team.
Mm-hmm.
So if it's taken out in a certain way, like they actually have to make an expenditure on it, then that will actually be on the books. But there's talk about how it would be taken out of money before it even gets to
where it would have to be put on the books.
So,
yeah. Okay, Doual, you've been a little quiet. What are your thoughts on Colin Kaepernick and his nice him and Eric Reid's nice settlement? And word has it, by the way, before you kick in, Eric Reid's not getting nearly as much as Cap, and I understand why, because Eric Reid's currently working. He just recently signed a 3-year deal with the Carolina Panthers after being signed by them mid-season. But go on, Doual.
Congratulations. You got paid for doing nothing. I mean, you can say what you want, they can boot it, or whatever the case may be, but the fact of the matter is, my opinion still, he's not a good quarterback. So, as opposed to going through all these court documents and, settlements and all that, and dragging all this thing out, like, you're just getting what he wants, because in about 2 to 3 months, it's all going to go away anyway. He made his point. He proved his point. There's police brutality and discrimination in America. We knew this. When we understood this. And again, I congratulate him for calling attention to it. Is this the reason why he doesn't have a job in the NFL? No. Let's not make no mistake about it. No, it's a piece of it. Don't get me wrong, it has a part to do with it. But the fact of the matter is, among 32 teams in the NFL, he probably could have made two. She's keeping it real. So, collusion, no collusion, whatever you want to call it. You want to call it justice.
Now you sound like the president.
It is what it is. And to me, it looks like, in my opinion, it looks like a charitable contribution to his cause, to the police brutality, to everything he was dealing for. It's the NFL's charitable contribution to his cause. Now he can go away.
Okay, so wait a minute though, but you don't think that in any way, the NFL basically paying him because I agree with some of the pundits that out there that have said if the NFL had a strong case, there would have been no settlement. If they had a strong case that they knew there was no way you could pin them down for collusion, they wouldn't have settled. They'd have said, let's take this shit to court. We're gonna bury you in court. I don't see the NFL settling just for optics if they have a strong case to prove that they're innocent of whatever they're being accused of. Do you see what I'm saying? And I'm not saying this applies to every case where somebody settles. It automatically indicative or makes it obvious that they're guilty. But I'm saying in this particular case, I think that this isn't the NFL saying, okay, well, you know what? Yeah, we might have done something wrong, but here's some money because, we kind of don't want to look bad. Like, I think if they knew that he didn't have them at all, if he didn't have them by the hairy chins of the balls, I don't think they settle for a damn dime. And I think I think that's where I look at it. I look at it a little differently than some in the fact that I think that there were certain. Once again, the reason why there's a confidentiality agreement is there were certain things that were there that proved his point and didn't shine a positive light on the league at all. That they did not want to see the light of day.
Well, but here's the other thing, and I agree with that to a certain extent. There's stuff that could have come out in those depositions in discovery that would have been made public that didn't even have much to do with this actual situation. But more about like the inner workings of the NFL and other shit that they don't want people to know what's going on. But at the end of the day, I do believe that it really is somewhere in the middle. I think that obviously for it to have gotten to where it's reached even before the settlement, for it to have progressed as far as it did, it had teeth.
Yeah. Right.
So
basically what you're saying is he had a point to prove, right?
Okay.
And he proved his point, right?
Yeah.
Right. So what now?
Now actually, there's actually already rumors of who was it? The Panthers and the Patriots potentially taking a look at him.
Panthers and the Patriots, yeah. But see, and this is what I've said all along. I said all along there's only two places that really made a lot of sense for him to go, especially if he was going to be a backup, and that was Carolina and Seattle, because both Wilson and freaking Medea they're running quarterbacks, they're physical quarterbacks. And so those were the only two places that it really ever made sense for him to go, especially as a backup quarterback. So Carolina doesn't necessarily surprise me, and we've already seen that they've taken a chance on Eric Reed. So, I mean, politically, we can see that, they're a little less worried about taking that step. The Patriots, to me, that seems like one big, fat, huge, hilarious joke. Just like how I think Robert Kraft being part of this new, justice team is just absolutely ridiculous when you're hobnobbing with the president.
Well, okay. Well, no, the word has it that the Patriots look comes from the fact that evidently the Crafts are big fans of Kaepernick in general. Like they speak very highly of him. So now I don't know if this necessarily vibes that Bill Belichick sees some kind of athlete in Colin Kaepernick. So we may have a conflict of interest there. But word has it that the link to the Patriots comes from the Kraft connection and the Krafts liking Colin Kaepernick and so on and so forth. And so that's what that. But the Carolina just comes from Cam Newton is coming off of shoulder surgery and may not be the same, and they may need to give him some extra rest. And Cap would fit that system, as you mentioned earlier, O'Malley. Like Cap would fit that system and be a good fit, not a long-term starter, but somebody to kind of keep them afloat while Cam Newton is getting better. But anyway, you were saying.
Let's take the surface facts, right? The surface facts and the obvious facts. However you want to, whichever box you want to put it in. Nobody wants to go near the guy because the minute he signs to a team and he goes take the field, he's going to take a knee again, right? That's what we all want to see. Right? Like, we don't want to see Colin Kaepernick on the field playing quarterback. We want to see him on the sideline taking a knee for, political statements and justice and so on and so forth. Right? Hello?
Well, I mean, that's one of the things that they said they had kept some of the owners from, or management from bringing him in because he wouldn't give a definitive answer on whether or not he was going to continue sitting on.
Yeah.
But fact of the matter is, that's what everybody wants to see.
Well, no, I think
that's why we're behind him. That's why he's got the people behind him like he does, because he lost his style because he was a good quarterback. Now, if he finds his thing, right? Let's say, for example, and if he gets another opportunity to play and that team wins 2 games, okay? So, what then?
Well, okay, hold on. Let's be real. Hold on. Let's be real about this. Whether you like Colin Kaepernick or not, he led a team to a Super Bowl, and he led a team to a Super Bowl because he had. Hold on. Let me finish up real quick because he had talent around him. He has shown that if you put talent around him, he can be a good quarterback.
He did not lead that team to the Super Bowl. That team was on its way to the Super Bowl regardless. And if Alex Smith was the quarterback on that team, they would have won that Super Bowl. Okay.
See,
he played about as big a part as every other piece, 25% at best of that team gets to the Super Bowl. He did not,
and that's about as much as factor as Alex Smith would have had.
That defense.
That's about as much effect as Alex Smith would have had.
That running game led to the reason why that team got to the Super Bowl.
And you do realize he led that running game, right?
Is not the reason.
Statistically, he led that running game. You do realize that, right?
Super Bowl, despite, regardless, in spite of Colin Kaepernick being quarterback.
Okay.
I don't care how you see it.
It's fine. It's fine. At the end of the day, his teammates speak differently than you. His teammates who were on that team who went to the Super Bowl with him speak differently than you. His teammates that were on the field with him, his teammates said that he led them to the Super Bowl. So I'm gonna trust his teammates over somebody watching from the sidelines.
Bullshit, and I'm gonna tell you what
his teammates, Joe Staley, his teammates, Frank Gore.
I saw a team that ran its way, that used the simple formula of running the football, a new gimmick offense that hadn't been caught on to yet.
Right.
That got the and the defense that was outstanding.
And okay, so let's go with that point. Let's go with that point. That running game statistically was led by Colin Kaepernick. That running game by stats was led by Colin Kaepernick. Statistically, on paper, that running game that you're speaking so highly of, statistically,
they were turning and handing the ball off to Frank Gore, and when they weren't turning and handing the ball off to Frank Gore, they was running the read option with Colin Kaepernick. And then when the defense was back at the box, and all he had to do was make one read, throw it to one receiver. That receiver usually did.
Nobody's denying any of that. But name me one starting young quarterback that doesn't. Carson Wentz has the playbook narrowed down for him. Every single one of them.
Quarterback position. All he had to do was go out there and play simple backdoor football.
That's a bad thing. And that's a bad thing. His coach, his head coach, played to his strengths, and somehow that counts against him.
That Colin Kaepernick was a piece of, and to say that he led that team and he was the biggest reason why.
No. See, now you're over exaggerating. Nobody said he was the biggest reason why. He was one of many leaders on that team. Stop putting words in people's mouth and over exaggerating shit. Nobody said he was the sole reason why they got to that Super Bowl. I said he led that team to a Super Bowl. He was one of many leaders that led that team to the Super Bowl.
He was a rookie coming from out of nowhere.
He was one of many people that led that team to a Super Bowl, along with Navarro Bowman, Patrick Willis, along with Frank Gore. He was one of many leaders.
Alex Smith never won a conference championship.
Alex Smith, true. Alex Smith never made it past the conference championship. Alex Smith had his opportunities to take that team to a Super Bowl because of him.
Because when he got hurt, and Colin Kaepernick to the end, and they came with that unstoppable gimmick offense behind that defense. They continue to ride the hot team,
which is the smart thing to do.
I give you go ahead and do that because nobody had called him to exactly how to stop them yet. But the Ravens did it in the Super Bowl, and when they forced Colin Kaepernick to be a quarterback and throw the football, he couldn't do it.
He couldn't do it, so
Just
that's
like
why
he-
they. So let me get
just
this
like
right. That's
he
why they were
just
down
like
by
he
20 something at halftime
just like
and
he
only lost by 3, right?
Jerry
Because he
Hess
couldn't do it.
in the-
Because he couldn't do it. He couldn't do shit. You right, dude. That's why they were down by. That's why they were down by 20 at halftime and brought it back to within 3. That's why they only lost by 3 points, right? Because he couldn't play the quarterback position at all. That's the only reason why they didn't lose. Why they lost by 3 points. Because he couldn't do shit.
Period. Point.
Hilarious. The stats don't back up what you're saying. I'm glad you have an opinion. But the stats don't back up your opinion. The stats don't back. I never said he was a damn good quarterback. I just said he didn't deserve to be blackballed out the league. He didn't deserve to be blackballed out the league for any reason. When stupid ass people like Mark Sanchez are getting a job, that's all anybody said. But you want to blow it up into everybody saying that Colin Kaepernick is this great quarterback. No, you need to you do this. Nobody said Colin Kaepernick was a great quarterback. Nobody said he was the greatest thing. But yet you keep throwing these things out there saying everybody's saying he's this, everybody's saying he's that, and nobody's saying he's any of that. Only thing everybody's saying about him is that he's a mid-level quarterback. Everybody that's talked about him has said he's at best a backup quarterback right now. He wasn't in that offense because that offense was geared to his strengths. But in a normal offense, he's nothing more than a backup quarterback. That's all I've ever heard about Colin Kaepernick. So I don't know who these people are that you're talking to that are talking about he's the greatest thing ever. But you need to stop talking to him because they ain't saying what most of the people are saying out there.
I'm telling you what I was told and what I hear all the time.
Well, then you need to stop talking to your sources because they blowing shit up. Because ain't nobody saying that shit.
The reason why the NFL colluded to get him out the league, right? Because he's a great quarterback.
No, they colluded to get him out the league because they didn't want him kneeling for the football, dude. You know that. You're using straight hyperbole. Stop being Max Kellerman. Stop being Max Kellerman and throwing out straight hyperbole and throwing out straight nonsense. Everybody knows that the reason why Colin Kaepernick is not in the league is because he kneeled. Everybody knows that, including you. Nobody even came close to saying that Colin Kaepernick isn't in the league because he's a great quarterback. They colluded to keep him out of the ring out of the league because of his kneeling, because they didn't want him kneeling for the flag anymore because they thought it brought a bad look in the league. Any and everybody who's discussed this subject knows that, including you. So throwing out the hyperbole that, he ain't in the league because they think he's a great quarterback. Bullshit. Nobody's ever said that. Nobody's even thought that about Colin Kaepernick. That Colin Kaepernick is outside of the league. No, because you're blowing it up. The reason why people are happy for Colin Kaepernick right now is because of the like that the league literally colluded to keep a second string quarterback out of the league. A second string quarterback out of the league. Do you realize how ridiculous that is? They colluded to keep a second string quarterback out of the league. All this shit you talking about, and you don't realize that helps build his case for why they shouldn't even have come close to colluding against him. But yet they did.
Again. We don't want to see Colin Kaepernick come on the field and play quarterback. We want to see him come on the field.
No, they want to see him out there playing football and not giving a damn about anything in the world because that's a sport he loves. Whether he's starting or a backup, they just want him to have access to the game that he loves that he never should have been blackballed from in the first place. That's what everybody wants. That's what everybody consistently says they want.
The sport that he loves, right?
Yes.
Okay. All right.
The sport that he loves.
But ironically enough, he didn't start doing none of this kneeling and shit until he was on his way out and he was exposed that he was this trash-ass quarterback.
Oh, my goodness. Wow. What a hot take opinion. So fucking original. He started doing it right around the time that 4 people got killed by the police within 3 months. 4 people got killed. 4 people. He watched just like you. 4 separate people get killed within 2 months, and he stood up and said something about it.
What you getting mad at me for?
4 people. 4 people died. 4 people. It's not playing both sides. It's bringing hyperbole. It's bringing silliness. It's hyperbole. It's all of those opinions have already been disproven.
These are the facts because he's not going to go out there and he's not going to make fantasy 32 teams as a starter.
And nobody said that he would. Nobody said that he would. Nobody's expecting him to. All anybody was asking for was an opportunity for him. An opportunity that had been taken away from him. An opportunity that had been taken away from him.
The collusion case was about keeping him off the field as a quarterback.
No, the collusion case was about keeping him out of the league. The collusion case was about keeping him out of the league, and you know that. This is the hyperbole that I'm talking about. The collusion case was about keeping him out of the league. Everybody that talks about this case knows that. It wasn't about anything that had to do with his play on the field. That was the issue. If they had just, if they had not colluded,
right?
if they had not colluded against them, they would have zero issue.
That's the truth of the matter. Like that's the truth of what this dude don't need to get upset. That's the truth of the matter.
Okay, so a dude without a job that has literally put millions of dollars into the cause that he was kneeling about is yes, you're right. Because regardless of whether or not you like why he's being colluded against, the fact that he's being colluded against is illegal, whether you like it or not. That's why he took him to court.
It has nothing to do with me liking it. It's the truth.
The truth of the matter is you had a man who kneeled because he saw people being killed in the streets. He kneeled. He got blackballed out of a league that he shouldn't have been blackballed out of, regardless of his skill level. When people like Mark Sanchez, who have a way worse record and a way worse reputation at quarterback than Colin Kaepernick, get an opportunity and get signed somewhere, this man can't even get signed to a backup quarterback simply because he kneeled for some shit he believed in. Period. So either you on the side that you agree that he should have been colluded against, or you're not.
They aren't a part of the protest, right? It's just Colin Kaepernick.
Right? Who aren't a part of the protest?
The kneeling protest. You know what I'm saying? You talking about Mark Sanchez and all these other quarterbacks.
But why should he be colluded against because he kneeled? Why should he be colluded against because he kneeled? Why should he be? Once again, I stand by my original point. It's illegal. It doesn't matter how you cut it. It doesn't matter what little spin you want to put on it. It's illegal. That's why they have to pay up. That's why they're paying out the money. It's illegal.
What spin is you talking about?
It's illegal.
I'm stating the facts as they are.
And I'm stating the facts. Collusion is illegal.
Sanchez had a job and he was in the league. Okay, Sanchez had a job and he was in the league. Why? He's a trash-ass quarterback. Okay, but he's not taking. You're
right. He's not taking a lead. He's not taking a knee, and therefore it's illegal to blackball somebody because of something that they do that's harming nobody, that's doing no harm.
What are you talking about? I'm stating facts, man. I'm stating facts.
I'm stating facts as well.
You feel me? These are the facts.
What, that $60 million in hush money was just paid to keep shit quiet. To keep shit quiet. Yeah, you're right. I'm stating facts just like you. I'm stating facts just like you. The man kneeled because he saw people getting killed in the streets. He lost his career over it, and yeah, now he got paid. Those are facts just as well as your facts.
You're right.
Those are facts.
You're right. Yeah, you're right. You're right. Everything he was dealing for was a worthy state. And it needs to be addressed and brought to national attention. You are, and I'm not going to disagree with you that in no way, right? All I'm saying is we're talking about the collusion, the case itself, and why the man was colluded against, right?
Right.
And he was colluded against because he decided to take his knee.
Correct.
Right?
Yeah.
Right. All I'm saying is the timing for me and the timeline and everything that's in and out of is a bit funny. This is what I'm saying. Okay? Now, I'm just going to come out to you and say it because I have the unpopular opinion. I'll be damned.
Hold on.
If some sorry trash ass quarterback is a sit up here and uses the civil rights movement to keep his job. That's what I have a problem.
Okay. And we're glad that you have your hot take opinion. No. We're glad that you have your opinion.
Let me finish. Again.
Oh, you just want your 15 minutes to say bad stuff about Colin Kaepernick. So go on, Donald Trump.
Everything done in terms of the activism, you know what I'm saying? From that point up until now, to me, it's just ironically fun. That's all I'm saying. I can say a whole lot more, but I'm not going to sit here and run my blood pressure up. Go ahead, dude. That's what I'm saying.
Well, yeah, it's fine. Like I've said plenty of times before. I thought that was it. I thought that was it.
The matter is, for me personally, I'm not going to sit up here and be like and just jump on a bandwagon and jump on shit just because. You know what I'm saying? Okay, if the man can, go ahead, man. Say what you.
Look, the bottom line is this. Nobody's jumping on any bandwagon. People support him for the reasons that they support him, which 90% of the time are personal reasons. If you have a different opinion, that's fine. But stating your opinion as if like that's what's going on, that's something different. At the end of the day, what the facts are is what the facts are. The man got paid for a reason. And I'll leave it at that. The man got paid for a reason. I'm not tripping about why he knelt. I can give two fucks if he did it for popularity, because regardless of whether or not he did it for popularity, guess what? It brought attention to something that needed attention brought to it. Regardless of the reasons of how we fucking got there, we got there. And at the
where
end,
the fuck is he now?
He doesn't need to be here anymore. He served his purpose.
He don't? Oh,
His purpose was just to bring attention.
He needed to do. Right?
His purpose was just to bring attention.
Everything he needed to do.
His purpose was just to bring attention. And he brought attention.
That's it.
I don't see. No, wait a minute. Hold on. You had your chance. You had your moment in the sun to speak your personal opinion. So mute yourself and allow me to speak my personal opinion.
And that's part of the reason why it's the NFL stuff. Hate him in and get it out the way.
Okay, you have stated your opinion. Now I'm stating mine. In my opinion, the league is paying him off because of the fact that they know good and damn well it was a rich white boys club that don't sign this little Negro boy because he's bringing the wrong type of attention that we don't want to our league, which regardless of whether or not they like the attention, hold on, let me finish. And regardless of whether or not they like the attention he brought to the league, it was illegal for them to do that. So therefore, yes, they had to come out of pocket. Even the ones who didn't collude have to come out of pocket because the NFL as a whole works as a whole. And NFL as a whole colluded against him. Now, some places have legit reasons for not signing him. Like the 49ers had a legit reason for not bringing him back. He doesn't fit their offense. He doesn't fit 99.9% of the offenses in the NFL, which is the same reason Tim Tebow doesn't have a job besides being a trash quarterback. But at the end of the day, ultimately, what happened with Colin Kaepernick, the reason why he's being made a martyr is because the NFL did something that they shouldn't have done. If the NFL was on the up and up, we would be talking about the NFL going to trial to defend themselves against Colin Kaepernick's words, not paying him off to go away. Because pretty much the story has been non-existent outside of popping up every now and then since the collusion case started and Colin Kaepernick had his last job opportunity, which was Seattle. Beginning of the football season, when Seattle brought him in for a workout and then decided no, not to keep him. People have piped down, people have stopped talking about it's unfair until some other trash-ass quarterback gets signed. And if you're going to sign other trash-ass quarterbacks, why aren't you signing him to a backup thing? Why? Because you have an issue because he kneeled before the American flag? Well, look, everybody has an opinion, that's fine. Once again, collusion is illegal, which is my ultimate point. It doesn't matter why. It doesn't matter why he did what he did. It doesn't matter why he did what he did because the ultimate effect was positive. The ultimate effect was positive. It does.
The effects were positive, but what was the ultimate storyline? That's what I'm saying. I got questions.
The ultimate storyline was police brutality for a good couple of years.
Say what you want. You know what I'm saying? Like I said, he brought light to it, but that's it. You know what I'm saying? You feel me? If that's the case. That's all he was trying to do was things like the situation at that point in time. Ain't done shit since. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah. Anyway, at the end of the day, Colin Kaepernick is in his right place, and he's getting paid, and he's doing his thing. Heather, any last words on this subject before we move on to the Super Bowl?
My head hurts.
I'm sorry, honey.
Because watching a really loud tennis match.
Hey, I've been in a few of those. Shit. And
I love you both.
But let's kick off the talk of what you called the most boring Super Bowl ever.
Super Bowl ever.
And I think more of that had to do with the fact that Tom Brady won, because I think if the final score was 3-0 but the Rams had won, you would be like, that was the best Super Bowl ever.
I probably would have said that it was the most boring, but it had the best outcome.
But it had the best outcome, all right.
Boring and the worst at the same time. Just because it's just hard to see his freaking ugly mug shit eating grin after winning again. It's really hard to stomach.
Oh man,
It really is.
I don't know. Like I said, I'm kind of glad to see Tom add another little thing to his belt, because I don't think we're gonna. I think for the Tom Brady haters, they should count themselves lucky, because we're probably not gonna see something like Tom Brady again. And Tom Brady's not that special. Like, I'm not gonna sit here and say he's the GOAT in the sense of athletic ability and what he can do on the field, but mentally, yeah, he's one of the best to ever play the position.
I've already said after arguing with multiple people who are under a certain age that if you were born after 1994, you don't even get to argue that Tom Brady is the GOAT, because you have no idea of any football knowledge prior to that. Because I don't care. I'm sorry, I'm not even a Niner fan, and I will sit here and say that Montana, hands down, GOAT. Never lost the Super Bowl. Didn't have the rules in place that are now. Didn't have the thing in the speaker in his helmet. Didn't have all the. Never had to blatantly cheat the way that the Patriots have won several of their, seasons. So I'm sorry, but if you weren't alive, or if you were in diapers when Montana was playing, you can't even sit here and argue the debate unless you've actually sat there and you're such a huge football fan or a huge 49ers fan that you've watched all the games and the tape from before. Because football now is not what football was back then.
True enough. Like, and see, before we bring in Doual on this, like I just wanted to state that I was telling somebody just the other day. The Tom Joe argument is very much creeping up on the Jordan LeBron argument, because you have Tom, who's 4-0 in Super Bowl, or not Tom, but Joe, who's 4-0 in Super Bowls, never threw a pick in a Super Bowl, has shown clutch genes multiple times in the Super Bowl, and then you have Tom, who's been to 9 and won 6. So it's like the argument is there for both of them, because you have LeBron, who's been to 9 finals. And you have Jordan, who's been to 6 but won every single time. So it's funny how those two arguments are beginning to parallel each other now, especially if Brady comes back for another year and they win at least another one in the next 1 or 2 years. But Doual, your thoughts on the Super Bowl?
You should speak that into existence. Come on now. We're fighting after this shit.
No hands. Doual?
One leg,
Yeah.
It was, the story of two teams, a veteran team and a young team. And defense wins championships. Like, serious. They were out schemed. That the offense was out schemed. That Rams defense played well enough for that team to win, and played well enough, long enough for that offense to come alive and do something. But the offense never did, because we still have a very young quarterback and a very young coach and a very young offense that couldn't adjust to everything that was going on, the pressure, the lights, the atmosphere, everything. That's why they couldn't get off the field and get up the field at all, period, point blank. Veteran Patriots, veteran team, used to being in that atmosphere, being in that situation, knew what they had to do. And don't get me wrong, they should have been beat. If the Rams were a little bit older and a little bit more veteran, a little bit more seasoned on offense, the Patriots would have been beat, because that offense stuttered as well for basically the entire game. I mean, they only put up 13 points, and this is a Patriot team that put up, 37, 38 to beat the Chiefs. So you talking about a veteran team, and not just a veteran team, a dynasty, against a young upstart group of guys that really played their hearts out, you know what I'm saying, all season long. And it's unfortunate that the young guys, got whooped like that, but it is what it is. That's what, veteran teams do. So, yeah, in terms of Brady being the GOAT, I mean, he's a great quarterback, but the greatest of all time, the GOAT, the guy, I mean, that breaks down into a lot of different, categories and areas, and he has the numbers, to back that up, but he's so much more a product of the system around him that is efficient and effective year in and year out. That he runs the same offensive basically system that is suited to him and his skill level. He's managed that system and he's mastered. Period. Point blank. He knows it in and out. So you can adjust it and tweak it and do whatever you want to it week in, week out, year in and year out. But it's still his system that he's been running for, 15, 16, 17, 18 years now? So there's no way,
Belichick is a system. He's a system guy. That's why, I mean, other than, for their personalities, Gronk's known because, he's a great tight end, but he's known because of his personality. It's not because he's this super-duper star. Belichick has made this system that basically all of the players are pretty much, interchangeable or disposable. And that's been proven every time. Tom Brady basically has not, that he hasn't played a game. It's the fact that you can take any one of those players out, put in another player, and the system still works. To me, that says a lot about just him as a quarterback in general. It makes me question, would he have been the quarterback that he appears to be had he played anywhere else?
Well, I mean, see, that's the thing, right? I think that's the one advantage he's had over every other quarterback these past 2 decades. It's consistent.
Yeah.
Every other, even Peyton Manning has changed, quarterback and offensive teams, so on and so forth. But, it's always been Brady and Belichick, and that same basic system is quickly adjusted. Look at Josh McDaniels. He went to Denver and came back. Okay. So that tells you the consistency, today that they breed. So with consistency breeds success. And that's why you have the dynasty that they have. If Brady, had to went somewhere else to another team, to a Cincinnati, something like that, or Arizona, somewhere where there was a couple of revolving doors. Maybe not. Maybe he doesn't go to 9 Super Bowls. Maybe he doesn't. He's still a great quarterback. Don't get me wrong. He's still able to be a great quarterback. But within that system, the consistency thereof, that makes him one of the greatest, but not the greatest. Again.
Now, I'll chime in and I'll say this. I think when you look at it, I think statistically, like you said, he's definitely up there. He's definitely one of the greatest. What definitely kind of puts him trumps over the top is, like I said, you have now by 2 Super Bowls, he's won more Super Bowls and been to more Super Bowls than any quarterback that's ever played the game. I think short of Otto Graham.
He's lost more Super Bowls than some people
have been to. Exactly. So it's one of those type of things where I think he has an argument, but Joe has the solid argument and it's the same angle that I take on the LeBron Jordan thing, is that LeBron has an argument, but Jordan has the ultimate argument. The undefeated in Super Bowls. I think Joe has 2 Super Bowl MVPs. Never threw an interception on the big stage, not once. Did not make a mistake. I think those type of things put you on a different level. It's just a level.
In that comparison, lies the argument, right? In terms of the GOAT. Okay, Brady's been to 9 Super Bowls, he's won 6. right? Just as LeBron's been to, 7, 8 finals, and he's got 3.
Yeah.
But and then you compare LeBron to Jordan, right? Well, therein line itself, in the comparison is the skill level. You compare Tom Brady to a Peyton Manning. Now he was able to beat Peyton Manning several times.
Yeah.
But isolate them 2 guys as quarterbacks, and I don't think that, in terms of how to play the position, I just give it to Manning. I just think he's in my opinion, you know what I'm saying, a better. He knew how to dictate the game. You know what I'm saying, pre-snap, post-snap. You know what I'm saying, in terms of game plan stuff. I know Tom Brady does all of these things. You go down the checklist as well. But if you go down that checklist and it comes down to ball placement, you know what I'm saying, identifying receivers, coverages, you know what I'm saying, understanding what's going on at the line of scrimmage and being able to dictate what's going on, you know what I'm saying, right at the line of scrimmage, right in the after the huddle breaks, you know what I'm saying, after the snap of the ball, I just give that to Peyton Manning. That's me personally. This is my guy, and then you can go along the list. Roethlisberger and okay, your Kurt Warners and your Brett Favres and the list goes on and on.
Yeah.
And but again, Brady's up there, and it's hard to say that he's not the GOAT.
Right.
But again, when you put him up, again, it's like the Jordan LeBron comparison. Yeah, LeBron's been to more finals, but Jordan as a player, he dominates the game on so many other levels and in so many other ways. That LeBron not necessarily can't, you know what I'm saying, or hasn't, but just the skill level and it's just different. The same thing would go with Kobe. Kobe's got 5 of them, and he's 7. You know what I'm saying? But you break them down, you know what I'm saying, one by one in terms of ability and championships and all the different numbers that it takes. It's hard to identify. Everybody has their own individual stuff.
Right. Every I want to say every person that's got a conversation or a place in the GOAT conversation for their particular sport has a nemesis, so to speak, or an anti-hero to their hero. You know what I'm saying? Like you can do the same thing with Joe, because there were a lot of people that said Dan Marino was a better quarterback than Joe Montana.
Quarterback, yeah.
But Joe Montana landed in the right system and won those 4 Super Bowls, and Dan, the one time they met head to head, Dan got beat. Because Joe had the better team.
The same thing with Elway. Yeah. Elway in that conversation. Yeah.
So it's like everybody has their and even with LeBron, you look at it. Kevin Durant is that Captain America to his Iron Man, so to speak. Not to geek out too much, but yeah. Yeah. I'm sorry, I had to say it. I've been thinking it for like the past 20 minutes when we were talking the comparison because when you
waiting to say that.
Yes, I was. Because really, if you look at it, like Tom Brady and Peyton Manning, like they were both basically the same exact prototype quarterback, except that one had it. Because I'll say it like this, like there can be an argument made for Brady over Manning, just like there can be arguments made for Manning over Brady. But there is an argument that's made that like Peyton Manning played with a lot of great receivers, like Hall of Famers, Marvin Harrison, so on and so forth. You know what I'm saying? Like he played with a lot of top tier receivers. Brady has not always had that luxury. Brady's really only ever played with one true number one, and that was Randy Moss. And they basically lit up the league when they played together. And so like as much. Go ahead.
Again, though, it goes back to that whole system thing.
Yeah.
Belichick has set it up to the point where they don't need those superstars.
Yeah.
That's the whole point, that if one of them goes down, somebody else can just pop right in. And that's why you don't see, like I said, other than Tom Brady, you know about Gronk, because Gronk is just Gronk. I mean, and a couple of the other ones, they're, we know a little bit about them, but they're not. It has more to do with the fact that it's just a system. And it's a system that's built not to make superstars or to have anybody who's a bigger name than somebody else, but it's a system that's made to not fail if one of the pieces falls out.
Right. Very much so. Very much. But I also ask as a final question before we take a quick commercial break, is that, should we hold that against Tom Brady? You see what I'm saying? That the system that he built, or the system that Belichick built, was perfect for Tom Brady, and also was a system and a culture. Because let's definitely admit that part of that system working the way it does is the culture of next man up. Everybody knows that all you really got to do is get out there and do your job, as they always say. You know what I'm saying? You get out there and do your job. Dude gonna do his job. He gonna do his job, and we gonna get somewhere. And when you have a team full of 53 that all ride like that, which is why you see when personalities and people, like, no offense to Chad Ochocinco, skill wise, he was one of the best receivers in the game. But mentally, I don't think. Yeah, you know what I'm saying? But mentally, I don't think he was ever built for the Patriot way. Hence why things between him and the Patriots didn't really work out.
I'm not sure he was ever fully built for fame, period.
But that's one of the arguments that I've always said when people tell me that, and when they use it against him, the fact that, you know, when they're speaking in the GOAT conversation, the fact that, quote unquote, he's a system quarterback. I always ask that question: should that truly count against him? Like,
let's be honest. We know what my answer to that is going to be every time. Let's flip the script. If he was 3-6 in the finals, yes, because if you have a system that's built around you, that's built for you, and you can't win with it, then that's on you. Tom Brady's shown that you give him a system that works for him, that utilizes his strengths, and give him a culture around him that does the same thing, and he can win Super Bowls for you. He can get the Super Bowl basically on average every other year. Unlike LeBron, who gets everything he wants and then realizes it's not what he wanted after all.
We're going to discuss that coming back from break. Y'all keep listening in. It's already been an exciting first hour of West Coast Bias. Keep tuning in. We're going to talk a little all-star break, basketball and dunk contest and the three-point contest and all that from last night. But you're listening to West Coast Bias right here on Spreaker.com. 4 Aces Presents. See you after the other side of the break. Peace.
Hey, listener. Dutch here from Voice from the Underground, the podcast. My co-host and I want to invite you to check out our little corner of the podcast verse. At Voice from the Underground, we talk about all the crazy happening around us and try to make a little bit of sense out of the nonsense with little to no results. If the idea of hearing three semi-intelligent, outspoken nerds talk about politics, social issues, current events, sports, movies, pretty much anything that we decide to talk about because, well, it's our show, appeals to you, grab your shovel and come on down to the underground, and then consult a qualified psychotherapist. Find us wherever you get your podcasts, just not where you buy your weed.
Voice from the Underground.
Man brain. You know you want it. You know you need it. Let me introduce you to our team of audio professionals, 100% committed to giving you the greatest extreme comedy podcast of all time.
What's SPH? I'm so super cute.
Send me your orgasmic release videos.
You can get it rootin'. You can get it tootin'. You can get it doing doughies in your yeet. Mi nombre es Tío Yeti. And you just laugh at little Hank. I ain't gonna pretend I is fresh. But looks like you might like that.
And most importantly, I'm Skullfucker. Rah! Go to manbrainpodcast.com to get orally violated. Manbrain out.
So, what's up? Steve Fingerstyles here, the host of the podcast, spelled DA, of course. Tune in each and every week to hear what pisses me off, what angers me, what I make fun of, and of course, my crazy rants. I also have incompetent co-hosts, cool guests, and a silent producer that sucks. So what more do you need from a podcast? You can listen on Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, TuneIn, SoundCloud, and the Pod Bros Network. Peace.
Yeah. We will, guys. Just to bring you back in to what we're talking about right now. I took a look at the picture of the All-Star jerseys, and them some ugly damn jerseys. They just are. Like I liked it. Like I think somebody heard the request from the fans to like bring back the old All-Star jerseys when everybody just wore their own team jersey.
Yeah.
And they tried to take it to the next level and give you these sleek All-Star jerseys with the team logo for each player. No, dude. Let them wear their team jerseys.
Yeah, just the white or the color. Yeah, the white or the dark version. Yeah.
You know, it like give me Steph Curry out there in the city jersey with the yellow and the black. Like, give me that if you're gonna because every team has an alternate black jersey now. So if you're gonna have the jersey, just have them wear their team alternate black jersey.
Right.
The town jersey, that would be what it would be for
Steph.
the
Oh man. Or come up with jerseys for each individual team. Team LeBron and Team Giannis. I don't give a but get away from what they got because they ugly. But anyway, okay, so before we dive into All-Star Weekend, which we all agreed was some of us enjoyed it, some of us were like, eh. But we'll get to that a little bit later. Let's talk a little bit about how this first half of the season went down. And specifically, we'll get to something that Suave talked about in his little spot at the beginning of the show about the Anthony Davis trade, or the on hold, I'll call it. Instead of saying failed, as O'Malley pointed out to me, I'll call it the on hold Anthony Davis trade with the Los Angeles Lakers. What's funny is there was rumors before when the trade came through, and they denied it, that if Dell Demps had accepted the trade, he would have been fired. And now the optics look like he was fired because he didn't accept the trade. I really don't know what to read out of Pelican camp right now. Like, y'all fired him anyway? Like, dude didn't make the trade. Like, he kept Anthony Davis. What's the problem? I don't know. I really don't know. Like, I'm not one to say that the Lakers, that the Pelicans should make that trade with the Lakers. I just think the Lakers need to rethink what they're willing to offer. And stop throwing everything and the locker room and the Staples Center and Penny Marshall and Jack Nicklaus and Spike Lee, even though he ain't with the Lakers, and everybody else at the Pelicans to try to get Anthony Davis. We understand that LeBron James wants and needs that type of help, but let it happen organically. Like, don't give up the booty.
Not at the expense of like the whole younger part of the team. Because let's be honest, how many legit years do both LeBron and Anthony Davis have left? You're in a point where you're starting to actually rebuild a team and actually build something by getting rid of all of them just to bring in this older player. I mean, you're cutting your nose off to spite your face, basically.
Well, look at everything from all aspects, right? First of all, the trade demand or trade request was made public via the media through whoever. Mm-hmm. So that's a mistake within itself to begin with. You know what I'm saying? Because now you put Anthony Davis in a tough spot, as well as the organization.
Right.
Just you put them almost at odds with each other, which is exactly what is happening and is playing out at the expense of Dell Demps' job. So when you say that, you know what I'm saying, Anthony Davis requested trade, he wants out, but the Hornets don't want to give. They weren't going to trade him. There were 2 or 3 offers out there. Had to be. The Lakers had presented to them a couple of offers. Which made pretty good sense. I think the Knicks, because they ended up dumping Porzingis, so the Porzingis trade that had to be out there for Anthony Davis. And they got pretty good compensation from Dallas, but Anthony Davis for Porzingis. So all this tells me is that there were some good offers out there, but the Pelicans just weren't listening.
Yeah.
They figure they can talk him off the ledge, bring him back to the organization, save him off when his mind is kind of already made up, and whether or not, his feelings weren't being made public, I don't know if he did that on purpose or, or where that came from. But the fact of the matter is, him making it public knowledge that he doesn't want to be there anymore puts the organization at odds.
Yeah.
I want to leave, like the abusive boyfriend. She wants to leave, but you don't want to let her go.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? No, you're driving her body. You know what I'm saying? You're not going nowhere.
If you listen to what Kevin Garnett said, he's completely putting the blame on the agent. With the agent's the one that
Rich Paul
made all of this shit public. Yeah. And
exactly.
In a sense, it makes sense. He's LeBron's childhood friend. He probably is where he's at right now just because of LeBron. Let's be honest. So,
yeah.
Kevin Garnett made some pretty valid remarks as far as that's concerned. Yeah, and the fact that they really made this an unnecessary mess, especially in both locker rooms, for something that they really should have known in the long run would not have worked out during this season.
And that's my ultimate point in the matter is that when I look at where I'm pointing fingers for the fact that, hey, Dell Demps lost his job, that was on the Pelicans, but I don't know what's going on there. There may be more there than just this whole trade thing falling through and all that. But ironic,
he lost his job because he was supposed to trade it.
Yeah,
he was supposed to move. Good offers out there.
Yeah, no,
too much for this one guy. Like, if he wants to leave, let him go. Get him out of here. Let him go. They can rebuild their team with what was being offered. But instead, you know what I'm saying? And I'm gonna let you go. It's like, no, I'm not letting you go. You're gonna stay here with me
for at least another year. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, well. I also look at it like this, and there's two takes that I take on it that I agree with. One take for the Pelicans that I agree with Stephen A. Smith, one of the guys that I do look up to as far as journalism stuff. But he was talking about that, like, what base. Yes, you did. He spoke about on his first take a couple of different times this week about the fact that he was under the impression that basically what Dell Demps was waiting for was, look. And this is not a quote. This wasn't like something he was told. This is just what he thought. And I can agree with this thought process. Basically, you wait till this summer. You find out who has the number one pick in that draft. And you work with them on a trade for Anthony Davis. Who gives a shit if he re-signs with them? Who gives a shit if it's a 1-year rental for him? Who gives a shit? You don't care. What you want is the number one pick in this year's draft so you can take Zion Williamson and build your team around him. And I look at it and I'm like, okay, that makes sense. If that's what they were looking to do, that sounds like a logical thing. But I don't know if, like you said, I don't know if Pelicans ownership was down for that plan. Like you said, Anthony Davis, it was made public. Anthony Davis didn't want to be there. They were like, get him out. We don't need this kind of drama in our organization. Get him gone. And Dell Demps didn't. And now Dell Demps is gone.
Which is funny because in football, it's usually the opposite.
Yeah.
Like, it's like they're almost trying to teach them a lesson when they tell them they want out of their contracts. And it's like, we're keeping you.
Yep.
Even though you don't want to be here, we're keeping you.
Yep.
It's like, but the second that they want to get rid of them, it's okay. And that is one part that I have some huge problems with these players' contracts is that, they're literally bought and sold like cattle.
Yeah.
And other than like the NBA where you have players that do have no trade clauses, but especially like the NFL, like, you're only good for them as long as you're good for them, and they don't give a shit. They're gonna move on.
Yeah.
Now, if you want to move on because you don't feel they're good for you, that's not up to you.
Right.
So it's not like that mutual relationship, which is kind of that's kind of shitty. But
Yeah.
you know,
Where both sides are equal. But getting back to the thing where with my final point, which is this. I think I'm going to say it like this. Like Doual gave his opinion about what you call it. I don't claim that this is exactly what happened. These are just the facts as I see them and my personal opinion on them. I think Rich Paul is the one who put out the announcement that whatchamacallit wants to be traded, because I think he has LeBron in his ear like, get me Anthony Davis. This man said he's willing to play with me. He's willing to play, and get me Anthony Davis. Give me Anthony Davis now. And so Rich Paul worked up a scheme where he's going to put that out there to force a trade, because if you notice, you watch the timing on all of the announcements from Clutch Sports, from his agent. First, there was the announcement of the trade. Then, as we got closer to the trade deadline, it was, he's not going to re-sign with anybody but L.A. Because they're trying to narrow the pipeline to force New Orleans to have to deal with L.A. and L.A. only. Because they know that there's going to be at least, if you have 15 teams at the initial announcement of him wanting to trade, as soon as you said LA is the only team, you maybe got 4 teams left that are going to say, all right, I'm going to keep pushing. And one of them being LA. So 3 other teams that are really going to say, I'm down for this. The rest of them are like, well, shit, if he ain't going to sign long term, if we can't make him a cornerstone, why the fuck we going to waste our assets on him? And Rich Paul knew that. And now I will give it to Anthony Davis for this, and this is what makes me upset with his agent more than anything else, is since that news has come out, Anthony Davis has put out multiple reports himself of quotes from himself saying, no, I never said it was the only destination I was willing to go to. And he just recently put out a quote himself saying that he wouldn't turn down an opportunity to sign long term with Boston. Right. So I'm like, Rich Paul got to stop playing the game and just see if the Lakers can convince the Pelicans to move Anthony Davis there, because they do real talk. Besides Boston, the Lakers have the most to offer New Orleans for Anthony Davis. They have the closest to equal value that they're going to get. Now the Celtics have the edge because they have an already polished player in Jason Tatum that they can offer, and that's just something that's not on the board for the Lakers right now. Like, they have a couple of veterans that they can offer, but they don't have a Jason Tatum on the board. And so if Boston wins, it's because they have more assets. And if he stays with Boston, it has nothing to do with LeBron. I don't think Anthony Davis gives 2 shits about whether or not he plays with LeBron. I don't think it's a thing where he doesn't want to go to LA. But I think that Clutch Sports was trying to force him to play to get to LA. And I think that's what a lot of the media reports about. Anthony Davis will only do this. He's not signing shout out to Max Kellerman, but bro, you holding on to that idea too much. He's still on TV talking about he only wants to go to LA. Anthony Davis said himself he never said that. It's just everybody in the media wants LeBron to get this help because they want to see somebody knock off the Warriors. The same way it was back when the Lakers were on top. They want to see somebody put together a team to knock off the Lakers. They want to see somebody put together a team to knock off the Warriors, and they want LeBron to be on that team because they want the redemption story of LeBron knocking off the juggernaut. And so they were trying to force this deal, which I think now that the trade deadline is passed, their opportunity to force that deal is gone. Now come off season, they're going to move Anthony Davis, but they're going to move him for the best possible offer. And the Lakers are about top 5 in the offers that they can make. But I don't think they're the best offer that the Pelicans can get. But I'll end it there and talk a little bit more also about just this first half in general, guys. Doual, why don't you kick us off, Coach? Your thoughts on the first half in general? Like, we see the Warriors atop the West. We see I believe it's the Bucks, Giannis and them boys atop the East, both with over 40 wins, and then we have the rest that are falling in behind them. But your thoughts on how the first half of the season is going into this All-Star break?
It's pretty good. It's pretty good. Interesting. I love hoops, so it's always going to be good. And, everything's shaking up about the way it's supposed to be, with the exception of the Lakers. And I think a lot of that hangs on LeBron's injury and him not being able to shoot up for those games. It's still on the team to perform and win games. So, but that's something that kind of continues, spiral. And I think that's going to be the storyline for the second half of the season, is them being able to bounce back from that and be able to be a team to at least make the playoffs. But yeah, it's a good season so far.
For sure, for sure. O'Malley?
What was that?
Thoughts on the first half of the season?
Well, you know, obviously some concern early on about the Warriors, just because, you know, it's a little unexpected. But I think that they're really starting to kind of iron all of that out. And I think as the second half of the season goes, I think you're going to see the normal Warriors team that we're used to seeing, especially with the addition of Boogie, who seems to be fitting in rather well, which is great, because I was definitely concerned about how him coming in would affect the team's chemistry. But I mean, it's been an interesting first half of the season. I would have been happier had there not been the issue with, or the supposed issue between Green and Kevin Durant, because I think that the media kind of blew that a little bit out of proportion. And I really love the response that he's had lately to that. And right now it should just be about basketball and about getting those wins and getting into the playoffs. And, you know, that's what they need to concentrate on right now. All that other, like, back-end business shit, that can be dealt with when the time comes. But let's focus on what's important, because you don't handle that business, nothing in the offseason is going to be important anyway.
Very true. Very true. Like, and me as a whole, like you said, I only thing or should I say like this, watching them play with Boogie has gotten me confident enough that it didn't even really bother me that they shit the bed the game right before the All-Star break against Portland. Like, and I understand that part of them shitting the bed on that is the fact that they sat down Boogie Cousins. Matter of fact, their two losses since like 5 games before Boogie started, have come when Clay took the night off, and then that game against Portland when Boogie, Andre Iguodala, and Sean Livingston took the night off. I think they've proven that pretty much, like, this team, when they're fully healthy, is about as close to unbeatable as you can get. Like, they are beatable, but they're about as close to unbeatable as you can get. The Lakers, I've told people this multiple times, I'm not worried about that team. I believe that they will make the playoffs this year. I just unfortunately also believe that their first round matchup is going to be the Warriors, and that's not good for the Lakers. Because they're not beating this Warriors team 4 out of 7. As long as this Warriors team stays fully healthy, even with LeBron James, they're not beating this team 4 out of 7. They'll be lucky to get a game or two. And that's me saying that, knowing that, yes, LeBron James is the best player in the game right now. I don't think it's by as much as some other people think it is, but I think that he's definitely the best player in the game. So, but I think even with the best player in the game and those young bucks firing around him, the Warriors would have to have a bad series in order for the Lakers to win that series. So, I will say, I expect the Lakers to make the playoffs, hopefully as a 7 seed, so they have an opportunity to be able to get out of the first round. But with the way teams like Denver and them are playing, I don't even know if they're going to be good enough to beat them. But next year, watch out for the Lakers. I expect them to be a top 4 seed. But this first half of the season has pretty much gone how I expect to, in the sense of, not that them being out of the playoffs, I expect them to have a better record, but I didn't expect them to truly be challenging for anything important at this point, because they're still developing. The players around LeBron are still developing. There's always an adjustment period to playing with LeBron. There always is. For any player that's ever done it, no matter how good they are, there's always been an adjustment period to playing with LeBron. So these kids are learning their adjustment period. And then him being out for 17 games didn't help either. That didn't help with their chemistry, with them getting their groove going. And so it's like that's why you see them unfortunately taking losses to teams like the Hawks. But at the end of the day, ultimately, I think the first half is going to be defined by two things: A, how good the Warriors have been, or a few things. A, how good the Warriors have been with Boogie Cousins. B, the emergence of the Sacramento Kings as a legit team. Like their young players are really starting to show up. And I don't think they're distant. Like I said, they're not going to make any noise in the playoffs this year if they do make the playoffs. But watch out for Sacramento in the coming years, and it's going to be marked by what we've seen at the beginning of this season. Because I think Harrison Barnes is going to be a locker room leader for them. By the way, welcome back to the Bay Area, or welcome back to California, Harrison.
Right. Also, I mean, look at how their youngsters showed out in the first couple of days of the All-Star break. You know, I mean, they've really got some actual prospects going on now. Now, if they can just keep that momentum going,
they can get somewhere. Like I said, I see them as a fringe playoff team this year. They might not make it 9, 10 to the 9th, 10th spot, or getting into that 7-8 spot and bounced in the first round. But they're a lot better than what a lot of people gave them credit for coming into the season. But it's those two things, and then the LeBron injury is going to mar the first half of the season for the Lakers. But I think they'll turn it around good enough to make the playoffs. Like I said, hopefully a 7 or a 6 seed, but I think they'll turn it around enough to make the playoffs. They'll win enough games. LeBron has the ability to will a team to the thing, and Kyle Kuzma showed in that rookie game that he's really no slouch. But unfortunately, I don't necessarily know if Kyle Kuzma is going to blossom under LeBron. The opportunity is there. I don't know if it's going to happen. But LeBron will will them into the playoffs at least. I don't necessarily know if he can will them into the second round of the conference finals. But I know I feel like he can will them into the playoffs. But it'll be those kind of big three reasons that I think kind of mark the beginning of this season, as well as just the blockbuster trades that went down. You know, that cat, I can't think, Tobias Harris, that was huge for Philly. The East is getting stacked with talent, and young talent to boot. Like Mirotic going to the Bucks, the top team in the league. Friggin' Tobias Harris going to the Sixers. Almost every top team in the East made a move except for Boston. But Boston has the ability to sit on what they have and still be able to do well. So
yeah, they're pretty well set up right now, I think.
But all right, so let's get into this All-Star games. So did y'all watch the skills competition? I know I did. We were talking about it earlier. Y'all watched the skills competition and the 3-point contest?
I watched some highlights of the skills competition, and I did watch the 3-point contest.
What about you, dude? Did you watch the All-Star Weekend activities?
I watched the
Highlights. All right. Well, I want to start off with that skills competition win by Jason Tatum and how he won it, because there were two other people. I watched the whole thing. There were two other people that attempted the exact same shot that Jason Tatum ended up winning it on. Where they came back, they were behind by a couple of feet, running back to shoot that three, and they just kind of launched it from half court and almost made it. And what was great about what happened with Jason Tatum was not only did he bank it in from half court to win the skills competition, but his bank and drop in actually blocked, who was it? Was it Trey? Was it Trae Young?
Trae Young.
Yeah, actually blocked Trae Young's shot from going in. Like, basically, if he hadn't hit that bank and it went in, Trae Young's shot would have dropped and he would have won it. So it added a little bit of like suspense to it, because when he launched that shot, I was like, oh no, is this one gonna go in? And it went in. So it added a little bit of an excitement to what is basically one of the more boring contests of the All-Star weekend. But there was that, and then let me see the 3-point contest, guys. I know you know who won. Give me your thoughts on that 3-point contest, and Steph coming as close as he did to being a 2-time 3-point contest champion.
I'm still a little butthurt about that part.
But I can say this.
Ain't gonna lie.
Well, you know what's funny though is I'll give Joe Harris this much credit. This is where he got my respect. Did you see that quote from him after it was over?
No, I did not.
There was a quote from him where he was like, "Yeah, he's like, it was nice to win a 3-point contest and all, but by no means think that shooting from a rack in a 3-point contest in any way makes me a better shooter than Steph Curry. He's the greatest of all time." And I was like, "Well, at least the dude knows what's up." Like you know what I'm saying? He ain't walking out strutting and talking about, "Yeah, I beat Steph Curry." Yeah, no, yeah, this is something completely different, bro.
Yeah, which, I mean, says a lot because, I mean, that says a lot about just him as a player and just a person, because there's a lot of other players that would have gone out there and just been like...
complete a-holes about it?
That was just, basically.
Yeah.
And I think that it was cool because at the same time, it was giving Steph the respect that he deserves, as far as I'm concerned. You know,
pretty much, yeah.
And it's not getting too big for your britches at the same time. Like, okay, you won the 3-point contest. Wow. Yeah.
For you.
Okay. But
Cool. Yeah.
I mean, it would have been one thing if he had won by like hella, but I mean, he barely won. But I definitely think I got mad respect for his response to that, because there's a lot of other players, especially younger players, that would have responded completely different to that.
Yeah. Dual, your thoughts on the humbleness of Joe Harris?
I mean, that's nice. That's what's up. He shot his shot. He made his shot. And, you know, it's a make or miss league. So, you know, he made his shots. He made like one or two more than Steph Curry needed to. So it was a good competition, though. It was a good competition. I think it was a little bit easier for him because, you know, he's pretty much playing with nothing to lose.
Yeah.
You know, so you go out there when you're able to play free and easy like that and just shoot comfortably. And, you know, like they say, when the game comes easy to you, it's a lot you can do. You can control and do a lot of great things. And you know, he made, 26 of them, 26 buckets. That's huge.
Yeah.
So, and when you beat a player like Steph Curry, that's remarkable. So that's what's up. Congratulations.
For sure. And then finally, Abdul, can you help me out with this? Maybe you know it better than I, how you say the kid's name that won the dunk contest.
I don't know. Go ahead. You try. I'll let you know if you got it.
I'm gonna pull it up. Hold on. I'm gonna go ahead and pull it up and see if I can actually say this kid's name. Hamidou Diallo.
There you go. That's what I heard.
But I definitely the most interesting name to ever win a dunk contest as far as in my 40+ years of living. But he's from the Oklahoma City Thunder. Evidently, he's a second-year kid where he got hurt his rookie season and didn't play most of the season. But he's back this year with the Thunder, making an impact and playing well. But I'll give the kid some credit. Like, I guess he did 2 dunks. One where he dunked over what was that rapper's name? Quavo, that's what his name was. One where he dunked over Quavo, and the other where one of the Migos, and then he jumped over Shaq, Big Daddy Shaq.
And you know, there's only so much you can do, and so many different, you know, dunks. Times you can do the same thing. You know, so I mean, creativity is key. You know, and jumping over Shaq is difficult.
I would say so.
You know, it It was an all right contest. I mean, it hasn't been a great dunk contest since Zach LaVine and Aaron Gordon.
Yeah, a few
and
years
then
back.
before that, that was a few years back, and before that, I don't know, maybe one of the Dwight Howard and the Nate Robinson, battles were pretty good, and then of course Vince and the show he put on in 2000. So, great dunk contests are few and far between. Not that this one wasn't. All of them are spectacular for what they are. But a classic one, like that Zach LaVine, Aaron Gordon, that those are few and far between.
Yeah, big time. Like the ones that will always stand out to me will be the one with Dominique and Jordan. Like that was just it.
And I think part of it too is there's kind of been a fundamental change in the game.
Yeah,
it's why like the 3-point competition now it's much more fun to watch than the dunk competition. But I wouldn't necessarily have said that back in the day. You know, it's just that there has been this fundamental change in how the game is being played right now.
big time. Well, the shooter, it's the generation of the shooter. Like during the 80s and the 90s and the early 90s, it was the 60s, 70s, 80s, and into the early 90s, it was the year of the big man. You know what I'm saying? Like, or it was the era of the big man. Or I'd say into the mid 80s, right around the time that Jordan started hitting the league, is when the league started transitioning to more of a guard. Now, not to say that it wasn't a guard-oriented league when Magic Johnson was playing, but Magic Johnson was a unique specimen at 6'9", being a big dude like Ben Simmons that could play point. But most teams revolve their team, and most coaches revolve their game around their inside game. Like you say, you play the game from the inside out, which is center out. And so the big man was the position. And now there's so many shooters that even your big man's got to be able to shoot threes. You know what I'm saying? In this league, your big man's got to be able to defend the perimeter because a lot of other big guys can take you out there. And so you definitely have seen that, like where. To an extent, that's part of the reason why Shaq was so dominant later in his prime, is because by the time Shaq got to his prime, guys like Kareem, David Robinson, the true centers that have been around for a few years, were in the latter years of their career. Now, that's not saying that's the reason why Shaq was dominant. I'm not saying that at all. But that contributed to the fact that Shaq really doesn't have that anti-hero. You know what I'm saying? Shaq really doesn't have, like we talked about, Tom Brady versus Peyton Manning, Joe versus Dan Marino. Shaq doesn't really have that other big guy that's opposite, him, to be able to say, well, they had some battles back in the day, to get to the NBA Finals, to get to this, because a lot of those guys that Shaq would have battled with weren't at that level in their career, but when he was. And so it helped lend to his dominance of the game at the time. But now, like you say, you got guys. I would worry about Steph Curry if you put him back in the 80s. With the way they were able to hand check and as skinny as that boy is, I'm not saying he's not tough. I'm not saying he couldn't take a foul or two, but I'd worry about him.
I'll put it to you like this. It wouldn't be them step back jumpers and all that, where you can just, nah. The game would be a little bit more physical, and there'd be nowhere for him to step back to. I promise you that. So yeah. He'd be good. Don't get me wrong. I think he'd be good, and I think he'd be effective.
Yeah.
He'd be like a Joe Dumars kind of like type. I think he definitely need it.
They made such a huge deal about like his size when he came into the league. Imagine.
He may not have been drafted. He may not have been drafted back in the 80s. Without putting on some extra weight, they may have just passed over him like, nah, man. Yeah, I understand you got a jump shot and all, but nah. Nah, they going to kill you. You know what I'm saying? We going to go up against the Pistons and they literally going to kill you. Nah, man. We can't, We can't be responsible for your life like that, bro. Sorry, nah. But what's funny is I told somebody and Abdul, you can tell me, I'm going to say this as we close out the show, and you can tell me what your thoughts are as a b-ball coach. I've said this. I've said that if you took LeBron James and you put him back in the 80s and 90s, I think he would survive. But I think he would be a slightly more athletic Karl Malone. I think he wouldn't be playing the 3, he would be playing the 4.
No, you know what? I think, honestly, they would look at his skill set.
Mm.
You know, he'd still be on the wing as a small forward, like a Dominique Wilkins, a James Worthy type, you know, a Scottie Pippen type. You know, I could see that. I could definitely see him thriving and being an all-star.
Yeah.
I could see LeBron actually playing back in that time based on his size, speed, and athletic ability.
Yeah.
You know, to begin with, and then his skill set and IQ for the game. That's something that definitely playing. I think he definitely would have survived and thrived. One of few. There are a few guys in the league that could have played back then. I think he's probably the number one guy, I would say.
Yeah. And like I said, I've never been one of those people to say, I just think mentally, if you take LeBron of today directly, like don't adjust him for anything, don't, you know what I'm saying, don't make him grow up back then so that he understands that game like that. Just take LeBron right now, take him back then. I think in that specific vacuum scenario, he would have issues back then, because I think the level of he would have at least a year or two of adjustment, because he would have to get used to the fact that dudes could do things to him when he was trying to go to the hole that dudes can't do right now. You know what I'm saying? Effectively, to an extent, when he's barreling down the hole, a lot of people don't even want to take a charge from him because of his size. You know what I'm saying? Whereas back then, a Bill Laimbeer, a Joe Dumars wouldn't have been afraid to damn near body slam the dude. You know what I'm saying? To stop him from getting to the hole. So I've always said that the only knock on LeBron going back there is unless you take the whole scenario of LeBron was just born 30 years earlier, and he understands how the game is played when he gets there. If you just transplant in a vacuum this LeBron to there, I think he would struggle, because I think he would, once again, anybody from nowadays, if you put him in a vacuum and put him back then, would struggle. Like you said, Steph would struggle. You know what I'm saying? I think LeBron would struggle in a similar manner, because I think the physicality of the game back then was a lot different. It's like I saw somebody in the NBA group bitching about the fact that y'all talking about people clotheslining people, and yeah, dude, that's the shit they allowed back then. Sorry, bro. Like, I understand, like, yeah, that's a foul. In today's game, that's a foul. But back then, the ref may look the other way.
It's the same thing with how football is changed.
Yeah. It's a lot softer of a game now.
They don't even know what a catch is anymore.
Yeah. No, really. And there's not, and what I say is, I understand why all these changes are made. It's making the game safer to play. It's making it so you're not risking your life as much every time that you get out there. You know what I'm saying? So it's, I understand why they're doing it, but to an extent, it's the difference that separates, and why so many older people look so fondly back on those days and look at today's players as soft. But I personally think that, like a lot of younger people have said to me, today's players are more athletic. But what I was telling somebody point blank and simple about the Jordan versus LeBron debate is, I said, give Michael Jordan, because they were talking about, look at Jordan when he was in his 40s trying to play on the Wizards, he was all fat. I was like, yeah, but he was still averaging 20 against some of the best players in the entire world. Like, basically looking like a garbage man that just stepped out of his overalls. Michael Jordan was averaging 20 points a game. And so I was like, but if you gave Jordan all of the things that LeBron has to take care of his body, that are available to players right now to take care of their body, and the things that personal trainers can do with them to help them with longevity, I can guarantee you Jordan would have damn near played into his 40s and probably still would have been dominating the league.
Not to mention, LeBron came into the league at 18.
Yeah. He's got a lot more miles on his body.
Exactly. I mean, and he's had a lot more, like, to me, like, regardless of the statistics, Jordan did more in less amount of time.
Yeah. Yeah. No, big time. And like I said, I've yet to meet anybody that's a sane head about basketball that has said that LeBron is outright in above. There's always an argument for, but most people lean towards Jordan. Most people that I know of that know basketball lean towards Jordan as the GOAT.
Yeah, but a lot of them are probably older, like us,
Yeah.
right?
Well,
Because
yeah.
What I'm finding is the younger and younger that are the big debate really isn't between LeBron and Jordan. It's between LeBron and Kobe.
Yeah. And well, I see it like this. Like LeBron, and I know you guys have both heard this type of phrase, but I've always lived off the phrase when it comes to sports, when all else is equal, is pretty much equal, championships are your deciding factor.
Yeah.
And this is where I constantly talk to people with LeBron, where they talk about, oh, championships, they're a team. Yes, they are a team thing, but when all else is equal, when you have a player who's made the playoffs basically almost every year, you have a player who's dominated the league for an extended amount of time, when you can check off these boxes with Jordan and LeBron all the way down the board, pretty much it all evens out to where all else is equal. So all you have left to look at is their championship runs. Where I break it down differently than everybody else, and why I give Jordan the option, is the biggest excuse that's used for LeBron is he did not have the squad to win certain championships. And so that shouldn't be held against him. So what I do is, to eliminate that argument, I eliminate the years in which he did not have squad. Which leaves you with 6 championships that he went to with squad, 6 championships that Jordan went to with squad. Their records: LeBron's 3-3, Jordan's 6-0. I don't understand how you come to any other conclusion than Jordan is the GOAT. When all else is equal, championships matter. And looking at it from, and I don't expect anybody to see it my way, but that's how I come to my conclusion when I break it down for people. Is that you can go regular season statistics all you want, but I remember back when I was a kid, when I didn't even know that somebody was creeping up on the fucking list for scoring until they were close to number 2 or they were close to number 5. Now we're counting niggas up from number 15. Oh, he just passed number 15. Now he's passing number 14. Now he's passing number 13. Why are we making a big deal about this? Of course, the longer he plays, the more people he's going to pass. You give me an NBA career of 15 years averaging 20 points a game, I can guarantee you I land somewhere in the top 15. And I'm not saying it's easy to do by any means. I'm just saying anybody with a slightly, which at this point, 20 points a game is, that's normally like somewhere between number 15 and number 20 if you're averaging 19, 20 points a game. You're somewhere between number 15 and number 20 as far as like where you rank in yearly in the top scorers. So somebody that sits right around that area, slightly above average, for a 10, 15-year career is easily going to end up in the top 15 all-time scoring. And I'm not taking anything away from LeBron by saying that. It's just why I don't put as much stock in those regular season stats as I do championships. Because you give Jordan an extra 2 years, and LeBron may still be further back of Jordan. You give Jordan his 2 years that he missed.
Jordan still has more MVPs in both the finals and regular season.
Yeah. So, but
in less time.
But we'll finish up. We're getting close to 2 hours here. We'll finish up that conversation a little bit later. Last 10 minutes, guys. Give me your thoughts on this upcoming baseball season and what you're most looking forward to. Doual, kick us off.
The San Francisco Giants. How they gonna do? Bounce back, playoffs, all that. So roster, line up. That's what I'm looking forward to, and that's about it. Yeah.
All right, Heather.
Well, I don't know. It's nice to finally have an owner where you're not quite worried who's actually trying to go out and get talent. Who you're not worried is going to trade away the talent that you've developed so far. I'm interested in finally hearing and seeing a set plan for the new stadium, and just seeing how they really can carry over the success that they started last year into this season.
Yep, and I'm right there with you. There's one storyline out of San Francisco that I'm interested in finding out, and that is whether or not they sign Bryce Harper. Because if they sign Bryce Harper, that's going to make them one of the most interesting teams coming into next season. So I definitely am keeping an eye on that. But yeah, definitely as an A's fan, I'm looking forward most to seeing what the A's do after putting together a 97-win season, which, yes, it's almost a year and a half later, and I'm still shouting it from the mountaintops that I predicted when every expert had them winning only 60, 70 games. I said, nah, this feels like a 90-win team, and they're going to be a wild card team, and that's exactly what they did. Thank you, Oakland A's, for proving me right, or at least for once. Anyway, it was... I can't wait to see how they build upon that, because to be honest with you, looking at their lineup, they don't have a single starter that anybody should know the name of. Like so and they've done this before where they've put together Bob Melvin put together some great teams with a bunch of players you ain't never heard of before, but those always seem to be the A's teams that do the best. Is the one with a bunch of guys where you're looking at the thing when you go to the game going, Who's starting left field? And what's starting third base? Huh? All right, works for me.
Who's on first?
Exactly. So that will be something that I will definitely be keeping an eye on. But baseball in general is back, guys. So we'll probably be kicking up talking about that on the next show next month, considering the beginning of the regular season starts on the 28th of this month, right? Or is that beginning of spring training?
That's spring training.
Okay.
The first game of the season usually isn't until like the first couple of days of April.
Okay. So that's where we're at. So we're about a month away from regular baseball.
It's for me, it's really hard to get into baseball until like after basketball is complete. Because you're still in that first half of baseball. Shit doesn't even start getting interesting. Even like basketball, like really interesting. You don't start really keeping track of shit until after the All-Star break.
Yeah.
So it's like basketball ends at kind of a perfect time.
Well,
you can start getting into it.
I may not do that with baseball. With baseball, I agree with you there, but I'm sorry, honey. Basketball, I didn't watch every Warriors game this season.
No. There's a huge difference for me.
Yeah.
Like, I can sit here and I agree. I'm with you on that. I mean, like standing.
Standing. Yeah.
Like standing.
Where people are.
But basketball, like I can even watch other teams play. Baseball is a different story. Like it's a much different experience watching it on TV versus going to a game at the park. If you go to a game at the park, I don't care if it's a batter's game or a pitcher's duel. Now, if I'm watching it at home, I'd much prefer that it's a batter's game just because it's just funner to watch that way.
Watch home runs, yeah.
But yeah, it just is. And when you're not in the park with the atmosphere, that little extra bit kind of helps. Yeah. But basketball is just purely, it's so fast-paced, it's so entertaining. And I'm sorry, but I've said it a million times and I'll say it a million more, but the Warriors just play beautiful basketball. And I could watch them play basketball all day, every day, until the end of my days.
Yep. Amen to that. Amen to that, sister. All right, so Doual, any last words before we close this out?
I did not have sexual relations with that woman. I have no idea where that even came from.
Doual, you there?
Yeah, I'm here.
All right, you got any last words for the people?
Good night, people.
All right, there we go. Good night, people. Short, sweet, and simple. So, all right, man. So join us. Definitely. Join us in about a month for the next episode. Like I said, we'll probably be talking some baseball and some more interesting stuff and whatever other hot sports topics are going on next month. And hopefully we'll hear from Swab again. Maybe I can get him to give another pre-record. Make this a regular thing. Get him back on the show. So, all right, y'all. Hope y'all enjoyed. I'm Double K. That's OMalley. That's Doual. We out. Peace.
Fuck LeBron.